Hey everybody, welcome back to Your Free TV. It is Thursday, January 15th, 2026. Can you believe it? We're in the middle of January already, and there's so much going on. I'll jump in with my disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States Constitution, protecting free speech, as well as the Sullivan Act and reporting. It is not intended to bully or harass anyone, never to incite violence, hatred, or lawlessness of any kind. It doesn't give legal, medical, or financial advice, and there are further disclaimers in the description below. Okay, I'm so glad to be back with you here on You Are Free TV. I always start out by saying thank you. Thank you so much, Krista. Thank you so much for the donation. So appreciated. Thank you to Joette, who donates regularly. So appreciative. And of course, everybody supporting monthly. You make it happen here on You Are Free TV, and I'm so grateful. And I will plug at the end of the video for my great sponsor, c60evo.com/YAFTV. So we have so much happening here again today. And with the thumbnail and what you're going to see here is that Trump is going for regime transition instead of regime changes. And this has been really fantastic as all the things going on behind the scenes are completely derailing basically the neocons and the military industrial complex mongers, the people profiting from getting their wars, okay? And Trump is doing this in incredible fashion. The tariffs on Iran being a thing, of course, the tariffs everywhere being the most important thing. But we're going to jump in here with the news. I will say a couple things. Of course, always in the beginning, I want to say too, please pray. Your prayers are paramount in how things go in this world. If you don't know it, maybe because you don't pray. Prayer is paramount for envisioning a peaceful world that Trump is truly trying to create, doing everything he can to basically use tariffs and economic control to fight back against the globalists trying to destroy America for the last long time since the revolution, but especially post World War II, Marshall Plan, NATO creation, all of it. Trump is trying to derail the intelligence apparatus of the globalist banksters that is creating mayhem everywhere, wanting wars everywhere. So we're going to jump into that. But I thought a couple things here that were just funny to start the video with. One I want to say is, well, along with your prayers, I'll just say that a really funny video came out of RFK Jr., where he basically was talking about President Trump's eating habits. And he basically said, Trump maybe eats worse than most people I've seen in the administration. Basically saying he eats well at the White House, eats well at Mar-a-Lago. Out on when he's on his trips, he only will get food from big box food providers because he doesn't want to be poisoned. He doesn't trust it when he's on the road. And so basically what RFK Jr. had to say was, Trump has the constitution of a deity. He's like, I don't understand how the man is alive. He is just incredible. He has more energy and more focus than any of us in the administration at 79 years old. And that is, of course, why I said about prayer. This is what is so fundamental in keeping Trump going as he is 79 and as he is plowing through the globalist world order. It is amazing. And I loved that video with Kennedy. And then my second one, which is very cheeky, but I did love this as well. When Trump was at that Dearborn, Michigan F-150 plant for Ford, there was a worker there who screamed up at him when he was walking on the upper, place where he could walk on top of the facility looking down. Somebody screamed out at him that he was a pedophile protector. And Trump basically gave him the F-bomb. He said, F you, and he gave him the big old middle finger. And that was so classic Trump that I wanted to share it with you. And that worker was put on suspension, basically suspended from work for doing that at the time. And people scream, oh, free speech and all this. No, you don't have free speech when you're working for a company. That's a separate thing. It's a separate issue. and Trump with the F-bomb and the middle finger, his Queen's upbringing, his ability to say, who are you to even, you don't know. And I loved it. So I wanted to mention that. Okay, we're going to jump into the news. There's so much news, and it's really intense. And so we have so many things on the stage here, and of course, Iran being huge, and so we have Trump completely halting any plans to attack Iran. And it's very interesting as we're seeing Lindsey Graham very disappointed, very disappointed. Lindsey Graham running off to Israel tonight. Okay, going over there to meet with his bestie Netanyahu for discussions how they can promote this war in Iran, because he was very disappointed that Trump didn't go for what we had heard was that he was looking, was there clear targets, was there something really to do, and that would actually change this. And what Trump is doing is he wants regime transitions, okay, that actually really empower the people instead of regime change that empowers the globalists. He's doing this with Iran and Venezuela. And this is all coming to fruition as Trump halts any military strikes. And Bibi Netanyahu tries to claim that it was Israel that told Trump not to attack Iran. And that's ridiculous on its face. But yes, so Lindsey Graham running over there to Israel tonight. And what we have here is huge movement in South Carolina to oust Lindsey Graham. Let's pray they do get it done. And that will take your efforts, if you're from South Carolina, getting involved in these midterms, so important. And we're seeing people like Promethean Action, who everybody loves and doing such great work to describe the larger context of the globalist attack on the U.S. They're going to be doing great moves in the midterms to get people involved as well. And I'll talk about how you get involved with that as I go on with this video. But what we're seeing here is regime transition, not change. We're seeing it with Venezuela as well. And so we saw Maria Machado went to the White House, met with Trump today. That was a closed meeting. There wasn't any presser on it. And she did come out and speak after the meeting with Trump, basically signaling, oh, we had a great meeting. It was so fantastic. And signaling that she had said that she wants to grant the Nobel Prize to Trump that she was given, but didn't happen to have it with her. And, whatever. Don't even care. It's not a big deal. The situation is that the problem here with Maria Machado is that the globalists really support her everywhere across the EU and France. Macron, Starmer, all of them, Merz, all want Machado to be put in Venezuela. And so there's some kind of globalist problem here. And what's going on with Machado? And she lived in a tunnel for 6 months. I mean, I super applaud her, and of course, winning the election. So that's a huge thing. It's a huge thing. However, okay, through her proxy, Gonzalez, right? And so, but what's going on here with Trump is that having this Delcy Rodriguez, uh, you know, the evil of these people, Delcy Rodriguez, her brother, the stepchildren of Carlos Jackal, all of it, huge operatives in what has been the Venezuelan massive operation of stealing elections and being allied with any gangster government across the world that will ally with them for money and massive amounts of money, basically, and to fund globalist communism versus the United States. And so Trump has captured that, and they're dealing with Delcy Rodriguez, and I think she's, for entertainment purposes only, a master criminal. But what Trump is trying to do here is say we're going to have regime transition. We're not going to have just immediate regime change because it brings in the chaos. And as we look at our Congress doing, was it 81 people, rhinos in our Congress voted to fund the National Endowment for Democracy, right? We're seeing a repetition of this vote going to happen. This is about regime change, National Endowment for Democracy, formerly out of USAID, which has largely been dismantled, but not entirely. We're seeing that how many of these 81 rhinos are connected to the military industrial complex and getting huge money from those lobbyists that they're being paid by and all the votes that they're supposed to give forward. So 81 rhinos voted. I linked below where you can go and see where these people voted and know who your representatives are. It's so important to understand because also 46 rhinos also voted to stop the Doge cuts becoming the Doge funding cuts in the federal government becoming codified. They stopped that as well. And so also we had 46, probably those same 46 rhinos, voted to stop Chip Roy's amendment to stop the funding for the DC District Court under Boasberg et al. And remember Beryl Howell, et cetera. These people are all out of the Inn of Courts, out of the Pilgrim Society, out of the City of London. And so basically we had those rhinos stopping the defunding of the District of Columbia, which is where all of the lawfare happens against everything to do with whatever Trump is doing. The lawsuits keep coming. Stopping the defunding of the sanctuary cities, stopping the defunding of the all of it. Okay, it's all there, and so that's what we have. We have a rhino problem, and it is our corrupt and criminal Congress that we're constantly dealing with. So if you want to check out below where you can look at if your representative did or did not vote for these things, go ahead and do it, and then call 202-225-3121 or billblasterapp.org and literally just give them the what for, because we're looking at a time where Trump is so diplomatically and using the U.S. Treasury with these tariffs to do this through peace, okay, to transition whatever's going on in Iran with funding, okay, to transition what's going on in Venezuela with funding. This is a incredible approach that we always used to do in this country. You go back to Washingtonian or Jeffersonian politics in our founding fathers, and the big warning was don't have international alliances. Do not create alliances, of course, especially with the UK. And the UK, the British post-imperial period has gone on since World War II to basically attack the USA on all fronts with so many treaties, so many pacts, so many of their bankster elites in their organizations devoid of any auditing, any oversight at all whatsoever. And we're looking at, you know, the end of that regime control on our country. But as Trump is going to Davos next week, and we're going to jump into that for a moment here about what's going on in Davos, it's very interesting to look at. We have Mamdani's housing czar, and this touches into what's been going on with Trump saying that in Davos, he is going to be saying that we're not going to have any international corporations, any hedge funds, BlackRock, Blackstone, Vanguard, State Street at all, being allowed to buy up residential housing in the US. Still not going to make them divest, as far as I know. But when we have to look at how important it is, what he said and what he's going to say in Davos. And I'm going to get into the agenda of Davos here in a moment for 2026 next week. And when we look at Mamdani's housing czar, okay, she's full communist crazy, basically talking about how they're going to be seizing property in New York City. And what she specifically said was that Blackstone isn't the problem. Okay, Blackstone, who wants to be in cahoots with the communist regime in New York City. And of course, remember Bill Ackman, oh, I want to talk to Mamdani what we can do about the housing situation, right? Bill Ackman. and all of this to do with the 13 tribes out of Israel, the influencer influence, all of it. All of this is so interconnected here. And so basically, what she had to say is that white middle class homeowners in New York City are the worst threat than Blackstone. Okay. And so basically, if you have a person in New York City who has a little bit of become a real estate mogul owning, 6 or 7 brownstones, which is massive amount of wealth there in New York City, they are the problem. They are the problem. Why are they the problem? Because with Blackstone, you get the opportunity to, for entertainment purposes only, and what's coming in with the new New York FD, okay, the fire department, you get the opportunity with weather weapons and etc. and whatever their program is for entertainment purposes only, just going to say it, to burn down a ton of New York City, just like they have across our country and across the world. They're doing it in Patagonia right now. And Malay, interestingly enough, out of Argentina, will be at Davos, but the Patagonia is burning. It's very disgusting and awful. Uh, Looks like a real estate grab there. But back to here, what we have here is that you have the communists in New York City, full Nazi style, with what is fascism. Fascism is corporate seizure of the assets of a country, corporate run control. It's different from communism in the sense that fascism is where you have these public-private partnerships that own everything and then use a sort of communist model domestically to basically decimate any, that the public can't own or do anything economically. And so what we're hearing here in New York is that they want the hedge funds to come in and own the property so that they can basically have their communist housing and destroy New York City, make it into a sort of, Bucharest, a sort of Romania under Ceausescu situation where they just can somehow get rid of it. I think the plan is to burn it down. I'm just going to say it over and over because it's obvious. It's obvious for anybody watching what has already happened in this country, that now that they're in control and they put in a bogus, absolutely ridiculous fire chief, that looks like it would make the common sense plan to anybody with a brain cell, and that they want the hedge funds to own these properties so that they can build back better Babylon. And so we'll see what goes down there. We'll keep talking about it. But at Davos next week, this is really entertaining and interesting. When we've looked at Davos over the last 10 years and what they've been saying, it's always bold. It's always, we're going to, create a new society, a new, a new planetary this or that or the other thing. Well, they've tamed it way down this year with what they're saying. Davos this year is called a spirit of dialogue, right? A spirit of dialogue, as the EU and the World Economic Forum losing massive amounts of power, massive amounts of power and massive amounts of capital. Okay. We're seeing that Bank of America, Citi, JP Morgan, all of these, Chase, they're down. Okay. They're down and they're losing money rapido. And so, of course, with Larry Fink out of Blackstone, sitting at the top of all of this, they are, of course, very worried about their bottom line, even though they are the richest people in the world, connected with, of course, the royalty, the Rothschilds, at all, sitting at the minus head of the top of the pyramid. So what we get here is they're saying it's going to be called a spirit of dialogue, with Donald Trump as the #1 speaker that they announce, okay? And they're having 3,000 leaders of World Economic Forum, people from 130 countries, 400 top political leaders, 65 heads of state, 850 CEOs and chairmen, 100 what they call unicorns and tech pioneers, the the people who's eat the bugs and whatever technologies they want to promote. I'm sure it has mostly to do with AI at this point. They've given up on trying to force people to eat the bugs. And of course, their youth leaders of global shapers are also who they make important mention of. And so when they talk about the leaders, this is who we're looking at, just a brief, a few. Mark Carney, Donald J. Trump, of course, he's the headliner. But then we get Mark Carney will be there. And this Canadian situation is really intense. I'm going to get into Greenland in a moment. And of course, we had the Rubio and Vance meeting with leaders out of Denmark and, of course, Greenland. And it didn't seem to go too far, except that they want more money. The Greenland wants more money. And Greenland was way more like, we really want to connect with America. We just don't want to be owned by America. While Denmark is being like, we love Greenland. It's so part of our national heritage. 1/10 of the Danes live in Greenland. They had nothing. And then in the UK, they're saying that the UK is sending one US, one UK British Army officer to Greenland, right? But the UK also has come ahead and said that they have increased, and as they're preparing for war somehow, and believe me, it will only be the native British who will be conscribed in this, but they're saying basically that they're increasing the age limit for reservists to be brought back for war purposes up to the age of 65 in the UK, because they have nobody. And they're certainly not going to get any of those Muslims joining up to fight a war for the UK. So anyway, Mark Carney will be there. Huge things to talk about probably next week about Canada and why it is so massive here, because there could be a last-ditch effort by the royals, by the UK the kingdom, which owns Canada as a dominion, as well as Australia, and Australia is about to pass the most draconian, awful, and evil about to come into fruition. Total control over the population with no free speech, total, that you will basically after the after what happened with the, I'm going to call it right here, false flag, but real deaths, the slaughter of the Jewish, was it a Seder or whatever happened on the beach there, that after that, they're not calling out the Islamic population. They're basically saying that that it is the white Australians who are the problem, and they're going full bore. So it is getting awful in Australia. So anyway, back to it. So Merz out of Germany will be at Davos as well. Hai Lifeng, the vice premier of the CCP, will be at Davos. And of course, Milei, Argentina, and many, many more besides. We're going to get Asaria Nishtar, the CEO of Gavi, to do with the Vaccine Alliance, as RFK Jr. today at HHS just put into basically vaccine skeptical to vaccine no people onto the vaccine board at the HHS. So that's fantastic, at the CDC. But yeah, did you know that Gavi is a corporation, right? Think Mike Pence, think Nigeria, think Bill Gates. But yeah, she'll be there. Saria Nishtar, the CEO for the Vaccine Alliance. And so there's many, many more people and corporations besides, but it's interesting to see what they're saying, a spirit of dialogue as the name of Davos this year. Very interesting. And as we saw with Iran, it was very interesting. We saw that that Iran had the airspace closed, and then they had it open. Okay, Trump came in and said, "Oh, they're saying they're not going to hang those 800 people. That's great, and therefore we're going to wait." And so we had the airspace being closed, and then we had it open for about 12 hours, and now it's closed again. And so it's interesting to think who left the airspace, who went through there. It looked like it was mostly Russian and Chinese flights that left Iran when it was open. So interesting again to see who might have left or what's going on there with the situation in Iran, as we're also seeing so many multiple reports of what looks like a sort of made-on coup situation in Iran. That basically that many of the corpses that were killed in Tehran had shots to the crown of the skull, very much like from above, a sniper shots, very much looking like a made-on coup Ukraine situation, basically 2014 made-on coup situation of these shots to these people, that it was snipers from above, made to make the deaths pile up quicker and create this massive as you watch CNN or you watch Fox News or any, you get all these intelligence operatives who literally just sit there on the news and say, we want the people to overthrow the government of Iran. Like literally just right up in your face. We want you to overthrow, get busy, get in there, get yourself killed. So disgusting and creepy and quite disturbing. And we're going to get a little bit more into that. But this regime transition that Trump is going for, he's like, no, let's put Treasury on it. Let's put sanctions. Let's put tariffs. And let's get these globalists who really want this and the warmongers. Let's tax them over it and see if they still want it. Let's see if they still really want this regime change that will benefit the globalists. Think the Crown Prince, Razi, out of, who was a teenager, okay, leaving as the son of the Shah, and the Shah was put in by the British to overthrow the actual populist leader at that time who wanted a democratic republic in Iran. And this globalist attempt by the EU with they're calling her Vander Satan now, van der Leyen. They want their people, their UK and their intelligence regime people to control Iran, because now they need the energy out of Iran. And so that is their fixation. They want the overthrow, the regime change that all these same globalists, Lindsey Graham, remember him and Blumenthal, they both shared an apartment in Kiev that was costing the taxpayer dollars like $5,000 a month for this Kiev apartment. That seems small compared to the massive amounts of money going through Kiev, but Kiev keeps getting demolished by Russia, and there looks like there is definitely this Trump agreement with Putin that, hey, keep going. Zelensky is the problem. Trump has come out and said again in the last 48 hours that Zelensky is the problem. He doesn't want peace. He won't. He won't basically accept the fact that Ukraine has fallen, and so we're going to see what goes on there. But very interesting here. As we look at this final battle here with Trump's supreme and massive efforts to save the U.S. economy, and coming out so hard to do so. And so yeah, okay, so I want to mention here just an aside, okay, just an aside, because it's very interesting, but I don't have more information. I'm asking you, if you do, please link it below, please put it in the comments, because we have NASCAR, the NASCAR race driver who was, the superstar out of NASCAR, who, remember, his plane kind of blew up and he died, and I believe his wife and child. And that was Greg Biffle. Greg Biffle. Just he had operated enormously during the North Carolina weather weapon assault and the flooding and the massive stuff. He is a pilot of planes as well as helicopters. He went and rescued people. He was doing so much good, Greg Biffle. And then he apparently, and his plane blew up. Right? Remember that a few weeks ago? It just seems like time is passing so intensely. Heaven is getting crowded. Heaven is getting crowded, people, as we're dealing with all of this. But what we look into is that it turns out that um, a couple weeks after his murder, or his plane blew up, his house was massively broken into and ransacked. And so I'm just wondering what is going on here. This attack on Biffle, what did he know? What was going on? And I keep looking for information, but I'm having trouble finding any. So please let me know below if you find any, or can put links that I can connect to, because this is very curious, and it's always the same program of, person murdered, doing good works, knows stuff not supposed to know, dead in a plane blowing up, right? So there's that. And we're getting, of course, that the Democrats are planning to shut down the government again over the ICE issue. Crow out of Colorado, great reports, by the way, with the appeals argument versus the state of Colorado on Tina Peters. Really great job going on there. We're hearing that the governor Polis out of Colorado is considering basically giving some sort of amnesty here with Tina Peters, and the what's happened here in the appeals court. The arguments have been very strong, so we're praying for this. But Representative Crow, the Trende Aragua, cheerleader, out of Colorado, he's going full bore for shutting down the government because he's leaving office. He's not running again. And so he's basically going full bore for the shutting down of the government, to do with stopping ICE, right? And they're putting up amendments to, putting up bills, Democrat radicals, to abolish ICE. I mean, it's ridiculous on its face. It won't be happening. And we're seeing things like what happened yesterday or last night with the DHS vehicle, or the DHS manned vehicle that was an FBI vehicle, basically getting attacked. And you get your situation of all of there just happens to be in the trunk, besides weapons and ammunition, there just happens to be this massive documentation of all the ICE plans coming up, right? This is our FBI, and we have real problems with our FBI. Massive amounts of documents stolen in that attack on this vehicle there in Minnesota. So very, very disturbing. And so we'll keep jumping in on all of that. And so I want to get to Greenland here for a moment. As I said in the beginning, we had the Greenland representative. She was very much like, we really want, to cooperate with the USA. We really want to be in a partnership with the USA. We just don't want Greenland to be owned by the USA, while Denmark is like, overlording this. But an interesting thing put out by the Gray Zone is that Ballard Partners, right? We get into Susie Wiles, Pam Bondi, their connections with Ballard. Ballard quickly becoming one of the largest lobbyists in DC, and super overlaying into Trump's administration, while Ballard Partners is involved here in Greenland. So it's interesting. This has to do with the rare earths. The big push here, we're talking tens of trillions of dollars worth of energy and resources in Greenland, the largest island. It's like a mini continent. It's giant, and it's an amazing place, but only about 45,000 people living there. And so what we get here with this thing called the Kvanefjeld deposit, and I know I'm butchering the name, but Kvanefjeld deposit has enormous amounts of rare earths. And this was apparently licensed to an Australian company way back in the early 2000s. As we talk about Australia totally decimating the rights of their people, going after any remaining firearms there, and all of their free speech set to absolutely go after the white Australians in that country as the largest threat. That's going on. But basically, what we had here is that in 2021, you had the native population out of Greenland, meaning the native Greenlanders, to do with pre-European people, did a huge lawsuit against what they call ETM, which is Energy Transition Minerals, that company that was licensed to Australia in the mid 2000s. They had a huge they won a huge lawsuit to stop any mining of the rare earths in this Kvanefjeld deposit. And very interesting that Ballard, ETM, Energy Transition Minerals, hired Ballard Partners, okay, of Susie Wiles fame, to come in and basically, be in charge here of winning the rights to go in and mine in the Kvanefjeld deposit. So very interesting as we watch all of this. Ballard now is, they lobby for Palantir, they lobby for Boeing, Amazon, Meta, the country of Qatar, all of it. And of course, all of those things being so important in Trump's administration, all of those companies. So important to point out, I'll link it below. You can read it on Gray Zone. And going on from there, I just want to mention that we have the deputy director of ICE stepping down. Very interesting, Madison Sheehan. She is stepping down from ICE to run for Congress in Ohio, to try to beat out Marcy Kaptur, who is a major anti-ICE, massive leftist in Ohio in the 9th District. Sheehan, for Ohio.com, with her new run for Congress. And it's very interesting as we look at, Marjorie Taylor Greene she's out. There's something like 22 people like piling into Georgia there to take her seat. But we look at Mike Lindell, as I'm doing this video, he's in his 3rd debate and he is leading the polls in Minnesota. Some put him at number 2, but that's probably fake. People want Mike Lindell as the new governor of Minnesota. Still no activity that Walz has stepped down or will step down. We don't know, but Mike Lindell is kicking it out of the park. People love what he has to say. Go to MikeLindellGov.com, MikeLindellGov.com. Please volunteer and donate. We need, this is the answer for Minnesota in a massively corrupt state. He says day 1, Sharia law outlawed. Day 2, we go in and we prosecute all of the fraud, every single bit of it, and it goes on from there. So it's very interesting to look out at all of this and see how much our participation, our focus, our energy into these things is so important. Okay, and as we get into what's coming along with the midterms very shortly, we're going to be seeing massive amounts of work that we have to get down to literally within a few weeks' time, as the midterm primaries will be kicking off. So we'll get into it. There's some things I'm going to save for another day that I was going to talk about. But Trump did announce his, what he's calling the Great Healthcare Plan, but it's kind of still just being formed. It seems like he still hasn't gotten those insurance companies to show up at the White House because they're so involved in the massive amounts of Obamacare, Medicare, and Medicaid grift that they're leery to come in. But he's putting them all on notice like he always does, threatening with Treasury, threatening with IRS investigations, all of it. But he did put out a short video, a 3-minute video about his great healthcare plan with what he's come up with so far. And number 1 of this, and I'll link it below so you can read it and listen for yourself, is that basically he's calling on Congress to permanently lower the prescription prices of drugs. The prices of drugs, he needs Congress and of course the Senate to codify this. And you can always identify who won't do it by their massive devotion through money, usury, through their bribery with Big Pharma. But basically that lowering prescription prices permanently is the goal, as most favored nations, achieving that being incredible. But also the second part of that being that with all common drugs, basically that can be cheaply produced, and wanting to do that in the USA to make them be over-the-counter drugs that you can buy at the pharmacy, that they will be OTC. Just think back to the V times and all the people murdered over HCQ and ivermectin. We had all of that, people connected with the Gates Foundation, all of it. And he is basically wanting to make those things over the counter so that people can get them easily and therefore avoid all that we know of viral attacks. But who knows what they're coming out with in the bioweapon sphere. But that is really exciting and important. And then number two was to send money directly to Americans versus the insurance companies through the subsidies. So we're talking about tens of billions of dollars that normally go to subsidies to these insurance companies, that he wants to send that money for people who qualify for the subsidies to them instead, that they can use the money to buy their health care through insurance companies, who he is basically pressuring to lower their costs and make his number four was that they have to make everything absolutely transparent up in the front. All of their costs, all of their fees, everything must be transparent for them to take money. So very interesting there. And number three was that every insurer that accepts Medicare or Medicaid must also post publicly all of their funding, everything they get from Medicare and Medicaid, and their pricing must be transparent to the public. And that all sounds like, oh, that seems like a lot of data just to look at. But no, what it means is that they can't just be stealing everything. Okay. And if people could understand what it means to have money sent to you that must be used on healthcare, but that it has options on where it goes, that is revolutionary for this country for the last 60 years. And it is amazing that people could actually start taking options about how they choose to treat their health. So this is still in the planning stages, but it's very interesting to look at. And I think it's very exciting as well. Okay, and so let me see. I think I'm going to leave it there for tonight at 42 minutes. The National Endowment for Democracy funding, I've already talked about it. The rhinos. We basically need to stop the funding of National Endowment for Democracy. They're the ones that work for the globalists, for the CIA, MI6, Five Eyes, all the criminals fighting against our America First agenda and President Trump's administration and the deep state still running through our disgusting federal government, is that they need a National Endowment Democracy funding to keep their programs going. They want regime change. They don't want regime transition. And so you need to call your senator 224-3121, 202-224-3121 for Senate, 202-225-3121 for the House, to complain about the fact that they can't stop this money going to the National Endowment for Democracy. That's how powerful the CIA is in our deep state government, that this would even be considered. And it's how massive the arms of what are the contractors connected to the Pentagon for all of their money to the military industrial complex comes with this as well. And as I finish up here, sorry, I just had a little bit of a coughing attack. Let's just mention that Lisa McLean, who's really big up there next to Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, as Hegseth, listen to me now. Hegseth, of course, teamed up with XAI out of the Pentagon, XAI with Grok, etc., to use their AI in innovation out of the Pentagon to do with, of course, military force. We had Lisa McLean being caught out for right before that was announced, investing through her husband $100,000 stock purchase. $100,000. Those $100,000 is go make a stock purchase into XAI, and so that coming out about Representative Lisa McClain. I think it's important to mention it, and I might have to end it here in the next minute or so, but Tom Emmer, very interesting as House Whip. He, of course, is super involved in the Somali caucus, so it's really interesting here. But basically, he's using that position, so this might correct, some of what we're all wondering about. Why are you up in there with the Somali caucus in Congress? But what he's saying is that they have massive amounts of affidavits concerning Waltz coming out. That Governor Waltz did not stop the fraud when informed by many people within Waltz administration and connected to the healthcare services, and that criminal charges, according to Emmer, regarding Waltz are imminent, and that this is really major. And of course, Trump also announcing that denaturalization of the Somalis who committed the fraud will be part of their punishment, that they will be denaturalized and deported. So very, very interesting there. I will have to continue uh, tomorrow because of the coughing fit that comes from this thing. I don't know about you, but where I am, huge amounts of not just the chemtrails, but the huge array when you see the ripples in the sky of meaning the high array HARP activity about EMFs and just major assault always contributes to this, where I get this massive cough, etc. It's been really huge here where I am, that in the sky. So anyway, continuing on, I'm going to end it here tonight. If you found something that was useful, added perspective or value or information, and you want to support the channel, there's ways to do so below, and I so appreciate it. Every bit of support is so appreciated here on You Are Free TV. We continue to fight the censors. Please, the shadow banning, all of it. Please like and subscribe and share the videos. It makes a huge difference in the algorithms that they continue to backtrack. We constantly lose numbers. There's just always all of this skullduggery going on behind the scenes, where the numbers shave off, the views shave off. Something's going on here. So help me remedy that if you would. And then, of course, my fantastic sponsor, c60evo.com/YAFTV. This is the incredible, awesome ESS60 miracle molecule. This is a fullerene that is super pure carbon 60. It's basically stardust that is purified to get into your mitochondria and clean out the garbage. And we are under assault from it. And so you want to get it out, whether it is to just clean up your cellular health, which is the key to all health. I could say, oh, if you want to do that, it's the thing we all want to do. But basically, the olive oil is the most intense. You've got the liquids or the capsules. I give away 2 bottles of capsules every month on this channel to randomly selected people who support the channel. But basically, what you have here is everybody buying it up to fight the degenerative diseases that are attacking us, especially since the bioweapon. But as we sit here in the spray and the ongoing toxins, it's just an incredible benefit to you. c60evo.com/YAFTV. Use the code YAFTV for 10% off. 15% off if you contribute to the channel, and different code and links sent to you. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back tomorrow. There's going to be a lot of things that are sort of at the tipping point tonight that I won't know until tomorrow. So I'll be back on Friday. We'll do a TGIF show, and please pray for that countenance of President Trump, that he remains healthy. Please pray for the that God's armor protect all those that want peace for humanity and they want to fight global Satan and stop their prison planet operations. Okay, you are free, and I will see you tomorrow.